Welcome, everybody. WandaVision. Yay.
What's up, boys?
Yeah, I clapped for a show. What's the big deal?
If the mic stinks, let me know. I think this mic works fine, though. We have internet this week. Robbie has internet this week.
I have internet. I just realized I think I'm wearing the same shirt I wore last week, so I hope nobody's binging this and thinks that, like, either one, I have a cartoon closet, or two, I'm a slob.
Binging all 2 episodes.
Yeah.
We're here to break down and discuss WandaVision. If you're watching it live, that's great. We appreciate that. It's Periscope, though. It's not the most reliable thing in the world. This will be up on YouTube in the next 30 minutes after. We'll go for 30 minutes, and it'll be up on YouTube around probably 4:30 Eastern time. New episode of WandaVision, episode 7. 2 episodes left after this. There had been some rumors there'd be a 10th episode. That seems to not be true, so it will be 8, it will be 9. Some people think there could be 2-hour-long episodes to go. I don't know. There's a lot of options. We don't know yet. But we do know that this episode did have some big reveals, and I will tell you right now, massive spoiler alert. If you do not want anything spoiled for WandaVision, you have 3, 2, 1. We will go through the episode and we'll talk about the big things in the episode, and we'll discuss them. Starting out, the theme for the week was the 2010s. Had a very Office and Modern Family style. It was a mockumentary style thing, 2-camera. Do we think it played? After last week's Malcolm in the Middle, it was tough to top that. Do we think it played?
I thought it was tough to top it, but as a Modern Family stan myself, who used to get made fun of with Big Daddy Trent for watching Modern Family in HQ2 before, like, hockey games, we would be like, can you change the TVs to Modern Family? I loved it. I thought, and everyone's saying this, if you look on Twitter, like Elizabeth Olsen doing her Julie Bowen impression, she was just spot on. Like, she really made it. Everyone else was okay, but every scene with Elizabeth Olsen, she knocked it out of the park again. She could win an Emmy for this show.
Yeah.
I was scared to bring that up with you guys because you guys actually know what you're talking about when it comes to, like, shooting, movies and TV shows. I was like, I feel like she could win an Emmy for this because she has crushed every single decade, and this one was no different. Even like the hand gesture she's making there, that is right out of these fucking shows. It's unbelievable. And Olsen is going to, like, rule my life in 2021. If you had told me that like 30 years ago, I would not have even known the Olsen twins even had another sister. So it's fucking crazy.
No, I think she was really good. She definitely nailed it. I think as far as an episode goes, I don't think they leaned a ton into the actual Modern Family vibe as much as they did in the previous episodes. And I think that's with purpose because, like, obviously the web is unraveling a little bit. And now that we're, like, further into the series, and I wished I got more, right? Like, I wish we got more out of the Modern Family vibe, like as much as we got like the I Love Lucy shit. But, is what it is because I'm more familiar with that. I'm more familiar with Modern Family than I am with I Love Lucy. So I want to see that more. But again, it's with purpose. So I enjoyed it.
The most Modern Family, besides the 2-camera thing, the breaking the fourth wall, I thought was funny is when they played the comedic music when they showed all the sword agents running from the Hex when the Hex was chasing them down. Like,
Yeah.
When you see Modern Family, they have those frantic moments that always have comedic music over it. I thought that was probably like the coolest little nod they had.
It was the cutaway. It was great. I thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll keep going down through the rest of the episode. We'll interchange a little bit to get to kind of the bigger stuff in the middle. But Wiccan and Speed, they're 2 kids. We believe they're their 2 kids. We think. They were wearing their colors that you're used to seeing in the comics. Obviously, a much different nod. They're like wearing clothes from Kohl's, which is cool. Kohl's Cash, very cool. Right, Clem, you're a Kohl's Cash guy, right?
This house was built on Kohl's Cash. I believe I said that on the dozen one time.
By the way, this is maybe a comic book noob question, but I think we're all pretty open about the fact that we're not so into the comics that we know these Wiccan and Speed characters and all that. Wiccan's got the Naruto thing, doesn't he? Is that like, what is that?
It's a cool ass headband. It's like a little metal sheen on it.
He looks like that Naruto guy, who I also don't know anything about.
It's Naruto. It's just his name.
My thing with my biggest learning that I did in deep diving was definitely Agatha, because I was like, this seems so obvious. I'm like, do I deep dive on Wiccan and Speed and then all of a sudden, like, they're not real, and then I never have to, like, wait on that. So I don't know. I'm not as well versed in them. Again, that's kind of the beauty. Like, I've read some stuff, but like I like kind of learning as MCU goes. Again, the Agatha deep dives I've done, quite fun, and maybe another devil character that we don't quite know yet. Yes, someone made a great comment. Loved the GameCube controllers. I love that. respect to the GameCube. I mean, the discs were stupid, you know?
I mean, the controllers were stupid too. I don't have much respect for the GameCube. I hate to say it.
The best is Tony Soprano playing was it Mario Kart, and he's playing with like the one hand just going like this.
Yes.
So fucking funny every time.
Wiccan and Speed, if they stick around, I do think they will. Probably Young Avengers. That's what seems
I saw some Young Avengers, like someone did the fan art of, they could bring in Kate Bishop from the new Hawkeye show and maybe Ironheart. And when I saw that, I was like, ooh, that would be cool if you did Young Avengers as like a big Disney Plus event where you bring all the shows together. I could be down for that.
The next thing, the intro. The intro had a very obvious nod to The Office. The sound of the theme song was The Office. The end title, it said Wanda the whole time until Vision slid in. That's exactly like Modern Family. And apparently, this one I didn't know. I think I got to credit Screen Rant or Collider. I forget. One of the sites that does a good job breaking stuff down. But they showed it's apparently Happy Endings, the old the ABC sitcom. I never watched Happy Endings. But like the name flashing around in different things was exactly the Happy Endings theme song. Somebody said it in the chat a moment ago. So those are the 3 nods. There was also there's also a one flash frame where it's a message to Wanda, if you didn't notice. There's also a message that is going out to Wanda. I got to pull up exactly what it said. But the intros, I feel like the intros have to be the most fun thing people on this show are making. I think it just has to be an absolute blast to make these like cool nods and intros, right?
Have you guys seen the TikTok that went viral this past week about how each intro has what they call the Devil's Triad in music in it?
No, what was that?
So the Devil's Triad in music is kind of like a weird sounding like 3-note chord where it's The Simpsons. The intro of The Simpsons is a Devil's Triad. The Simpsons. And if you listen for that in every WandaVision intro, it's at the very, very end of this. It's like WandaVision. And they call it the Devil's Triad. It features in every single WandaVision intro from the first one. It's crazy, the amount of detail they're putting into this. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And now I listened for it this time, and the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, can't hear it. And at the end, of course, they nail it in there.
Well, Clem, you also retweeted something that I saw that was pretty great. Oh, by the way, the thing says, I know what you are doing, Wanda. That's what the message said, like in letters. There's a flash frame. You mentioned that. You retweeted, someone said that every episode, it starts out with Wanda saying previously on WandaVision, and she's slowly become more and more like depressed and like disheveled when saying it. Like now she just sounds angry doing it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and if I would say like, oh, that's, just the internet, diving a little too deep. Everything that they've dug on has like, you've gotten gold out of it. There's been no fool's gold. And obviously at the end of this episode, we kind of get the thing that we've all been digging for. It's unbelievable. Emmys for everybody. That's all. I just want everyone to win Emmys. Jeff, you're in that club with all these Emmy motherfuckers. Get them Jeff Lowe's level.
I will give Elizabeth Olsen my Emmy. I didn't deserve it anyway. I don't deserve it. As if she'd want that, like daytime Emmy. Next thing. So let's talk about this. We're going to skip around a little bit here. The aerospace engineer. Twitter was freaking out this morning about it. People were like, that was the reveal. I don't think it was. I do not think that was just a major in Sword. And so Monica goes with Jimmy Woo, meets this major Goodall or something. I forget exactly what it was.
Goodner.
Gets this rover, which looks like maybe this is what all NASA rovers look like for Mars, but it just reminded me of The Martian.
See, I immediately thought Armageddon. The things that they
right.
The ones that bring the asteroid. Yeah.
It does look like the one from Armageddon, you're right. But it gave me such Martian vibes, mostly because Matt Damon's in the MCU. So that's exactly
he is now.
This was not the aerospace engineer, and people were like, what? I'm very confident it was not. I'm pretty sure the aerospace engineer built this thing, helped make this. But because we saw a tweet, Teyonah Parris said that people are going to be excited for the reaction. I think this is just another moving along of the tease, right? Like I didn't take this as this was the reveal at all.
No, this person's just a facilitator. She's the middleman. delivering a piece of which, by the way, if this was Reed Richards that made this machine, good job, dude. The thing exploded and turned into like a half truck. Fucking bang-o job, dude. But I do think it's just a facilitator. It's the middleman.
They really didn't make a big deal out of it. And they've been hyping it up for so many episodes.
Let me sit and note this comment. I don't agree with this comment. They're going to save Fantastic Four for a movie reveal. I don't agree. I think very clearly Disney Plus is being used as a very serious vessel to push MCU things. Maybe it is movie, but they're not going to reveal Fantastic Four obviously in the Fantastic Four. I think they're going to look at how well like Black Panther built up the Black Panther, and even more so how they said enough of the bullshit with Spider-Man. They were like, no more fucking origin story, no more dead uncle, none of that garbage. Fantastic Four. We did an interview with Michael Chiklis, and I know Mr. Chiklis is a big fan of those movies. Most people hate those movies. And then the most recent one was the largest steaming pile of garbage to ever exist in comic book movies. Like, it is so fucking bad. They're not going to mess with that. I think Disney Plus broke this morning because so many people wanted to watch one.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I think whether it's now or later, I think Reed Richards or someone from Fantastic Four does get introduced in these shows. I really do.
I would just hate it if they were like the last episode before today's that she's talking about meeting the aerospace engineer. And then I just thought we were going to get it at some point this episode.
Me too.
And
I kind of got some goosebumps. I thought it was about to happen.
Right? Yeah. And I'm just waiting for someone just to say the word aerospace. I was just staring, waiting for someone to say, oh, hey, Mr. Aerospace Engineer. And we never got that. So I think the fact it was never said, I think you're right, Jeff. I think that leaves like the next 2 episodes because Tijuana Paris, my reaction if that was the aerospace engineer, massive disappointment if that's
yeah, really. Like what the fuck?
The YouTube channel Heavy Spoilers, they do a good breakdown. They're always the first ones up online. He made a joke that the next frame is them at the carnival, which we'll get to this and we'll get to Vision and Darcy in a second. It's at the carnival and there's like a Fool the Guesser was in the background, and it kind of lined up perfectly with like how people thought it was going to happen. Intentional or not, that was kind of funny. Let's talk about Monica next. We'll talk about Monica's arc in this story. We'll talk about the post-credit scene at the end, but this is how Monica's story goes this episode. Crazy stuff. She tries to drive the rover into the Hex, doesn't work. Like KenJac said, it's a pile of shit. Gets just blown backwards, turns into a half truck. And then she goes in herself. She, as more than ever in this series, has become a superhero. She's just very clearly a superhero. She literally did a superhero landing. Like that, like I think that confirms it more than anything. People have said Photon, she has other different names that she has. That is an interesting debate because we almost never hear the actual comic book character names in the MCU anyway. It's always just like the actual name. Like, do they ever call, like, it's never Black Widow, right? Like, no one's ever called her Black Widow unless I'm missing out. No one said Scarlet Witch. Like, she's going to be Monica Rambeau with superpowers. So I don't know, like, which one they're going to go for, whether it's Photon or a different type of character. But I thought this was pretty fucking cool. This was a neat moment, especially the eyes turning blue. A lot of eye turning in this episode.
The superhero landing is always welcome by me, no matter what the occasion is. It's just cool. It reminds me of Roman Reigns. Immediately comes to mind, no matter what, Robbie. But it was awesome. I think we're gonna learn more about her superpowers. The only thing I know about her is just what had been like just tweeted and discussed about, that she can like see the electromagnetic spectrum and like transform into a part of like the light spectrum, which is cool. And like, I just think that she is going to exit this with powers due to like kind of Agatha's meddling, because you could even see Agatha, and we're going to talk soon about that. Her powers kind of almost looked similar in a sense to hers, and also to Scarlet Witch's. So intriguing to see, or I'm interested to see what she's going to do once she gets out into the broad MCU now, and if she can keep her powers when she leaves.
Is it like Agatha's powers are purple because they're as powerful as Scarlet Witch's, red, and Photon's blue combined?
Yeah, true.
Little color mix in. Shout out Mrs. Shafalo's art class, 3rd grade. We used to say, Mrs. Shafalo me home.
I saw some people talk about the different colors too, where this, I mean, and obviously Wanda was, experimenting on with the Mind Stone, but she's changing the reality, which is red. You have the space here with Rambeau. You have the purplish, the Power Stone with Agatha, and then Vision, obviously, with the Mind Stone he's been using. So it does feel like we could have all 6 of those colors making their way back in, even if it's not, a 1-to-1 ratio with the actual, what the stones did and all that kind of stuff.
Stones ain't going anywhere. We're gonna hear Stones for a long time. Also,
By
thank
the
you
way,
for noting-
apparently there's another stone. Have you guys heard about that? There's the ego stone. I read up on it on like the Wikipedia of Marvel the other day. There's like an ego stone that's like a missing stone. It's all we got stones up the ass.
so many stones. Yeah, somebody
Shout
people
out
do
Richie.
know, they did call her Black Widow at one point. But again, my overarching point is I don't know what they'll call her, and they may never call her anything. She just may be Monica Rambeau the entire
Yeah.
This is a guess. This is just I'm just up. I like to throw my guesses out there that are always dead wrong. But I feel like kind of like Spider-Man. Oh, we're doing made up names. My name's Spider-Man because his name is literally Doctor Strange though in Infinity War. I feel like that could be a sword thing. They just start naming these people the actual names like Vision, Photon. They might actually be the people who give these superheroes.
Could be Darcy, right? She gave the Hexa name as a joke that stuck immediately.
Yeah.
I could see
next
her
thing-
being like, "Oh my God, you're a superhero now. You need a superhero name."
Speaking of Darcy, we didn't have the Darcy and Vision moments weren't crazy this episode. They were kind of like a road trip part of this show. But I really enjoyed just her telling him about his life. Like I thought that was just some fun little like callbacks to she was talking about Thanos, Jarvis was a fun reference, Ultron, and our intern Goochman brought up a good point, said, how many people know about like Thanos, like the battle at Avengers HQ or the Battle of Wakanda? Like, I'm curious, like, is that taught in school, like the World War and stuff? Like I wonder how much the public knows about.
They
like,
had a
all of
documentary about the snap and like the Avengers
Right,
coming
'cause
back
that's
in
right,
Far From
because-
Home, right?
On Far From Home,
Yeah.
that's in the seat back. So I guess it's just complete, but like how much I wonder.
Yeah.
Like how deep do they go?
It's
Like
a lot
do they-
has to be classified. You think, right?
Totally.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I wonder. Like I think that's something we'll see more of. That's a good point on the documentary. I wish they would make that. Like, we had,
They
like, a
should
fun
for
little,
Disney
like-
Plus. They should make it like a canon documentary, an in-universe doc.
I'm getting this question a couple times. Does Vision have a new soul after being resurrected? I don't know, because like we saw how he was outside of. I will say, I mean, if he just all of a sudden the stone was back, that'd be some crazy ass shit. I'll tell you that right now. I don't know. That's a good question. Next thing, I thought this was the coolest thing in the entire episode. The commercial was fairly fucking big this time. It teased something that opens up just tons of windows. This one I did a massive deep dive on this morning. And I've heard of this one a little bit because they recently referenced Nexus too, I think with the Fortnite thing. I hadn't played Fortnite anymore, but they talked about it. And once the Loki thing dropped, I was like, all right, wait, I got to brush up on my different dimensions and all like realities. The commercial was pivotal here. The Nexus, gateway to other realities. Best way to describe it. Easiest way to describe it. The Nexus of all beings. Also Nexus of all worlds, excuse me. Nexus beings as well. Wanda's a Nexus being. Can really alter and change realities. I saw someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw this in the Marvel Reddit. That also means Nexus beings are the same throughout different realities. If that's true, I'll throw you up on the monitor. That's a great fact if that's true. Also, the people that oversee Nexus beings, the Time Variance Authority, that's in Loki. So this all really seems to tie. Could this be a very, very far down the road Galactus tease? Like clearly, there's a gateway to these realities. Is it the Hex? Is it Agatha's basement, which we're about to talk about in a second? This I thought was easily the coolest thing. Someone says Tony X's Nexus Network in Age of Ultron. Like this, I thought was the coolest reference in the entire episode because this is the one where you're like, there's some big shit coming up. There's some crazy things that are going to happen.
He uses that to, I want to say, find Jarvis after Ultron kills him. That's how he finds him, is in the Nexus network. And I think that, and I read this, I think at CNET or something, Wanda takes one of the Nexus pills at some point after the commercial. Like she just physically takes one. So I don't know. This is very cool. And this is like we were talking about before, like when the opening, when we first got Evan Peters Quicksilver, like we are really seeing like the multiverse come into play in such a huge way, and like it's such like a tease, right? Because all we've really had is Quicksilver so far, and the implications that come with Nexus now are so huge and like beyond our stupid feeble implications. And I feel like it's something 10 years ago we would fucking all come our pants about, but now we've been waiting for so long, it's just not a big deal, right? It's just like we're expecting it, but man, it is really exciting.
I just love the actual commercial and how spot on it was to like a medication commercial, and they're like side effects for depression. May cause more depression. I thought that was hysterical. We were watching last week with the yogurt commercial, the Yo Magic commercial. I was rewatching the episode with Trent, and he like looked down and he was like, "Oh, I forgot that wasn't like a real commercial. I just stopped paying attention."
That's very new age.
That might have been my favorite because it had such a Go-Gurt, Lunchables, all that type of vibe. I just thoroughly enjoyed that. All right, let's talk about kind of the big thing. So Wanda all episode is sort of, she's not feeling great. She's bumming out what she did the previous episode. Again, fits into the theme. She lets the kids go with Agatha, or at this point, Agnes, to her house. And right when you go into Agnes's house, you're like, something's off. This house is very old looking. It's got a different vibe to it. And then Wanda, confronted by Monica Rambeau. They kind of have a little bit of like a mini fight. That's where Monica had that superhero landing, and then Agnes takes her away. She's like, yeah, calm down. I calm down a bit. She's like, no, I'm not going to. And then Wanda goes into Agnes's house, says, hey, where the fuck are the kids? They got these PB&J sandwiches sitting around there. She's like, what happened to my kids? And it turns out they are in the basement. She said, oh, they probably went to the basement. So Wanda ventures down there, and this is kind of the reveal. And notice dimensions changed. Very cinematic aspect ratio. I think this is a prediction. Unless the next episode is the Agatha episode where it has different types of weird, sitcom-y things, I think we're just full-blown MCU movie now. That's like, I think, kind of what it's hinting at. Because I think aspect ratio has been a fairly decent tease. But so we see a couple things before we get to Agnes. This glowing book. Some people think it's a Darkhold. And I'll read the tweet a little more because it's kind of hard to read it. Artifact containing the knowledge. Can't read any of that shit. Gods and chaos and shit. In the comics, they chose Wanda as a mortal vessel and empowered her with chaos magic. I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all the way through. That was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though. Yep. That I know.
That was like a mini arc in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I didn't think it was that. I honestly didn't even put two and two together at all until I think I saw it pointed out. Probably not from this people, from a different one.
Yeah, so people think it might be Darkhold. Some people also said, could that be the missing book from Doctor Strange? Could that be the missing dark magic from Doctor Strange? So people kind of all putting it in there. Yeah, some people saying Agatha stole it from the Sanctum. Would love that. Again, Wanda very much going to be in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. We already knew that. So even if Doctor Strange didn't show up, and apparently Paul Bettany said it isn't Doctor Strange, like the cameo. He may be in it, but that's not like the big cameo. Very cool, like just to see this kind of tie in and where this is going to go. You're going to get some wild shit. She's in the basement, all these vines and stuff. And then we find out the big reveal, which it's funny because it wasn't dissatisfying. I thought the reveal was very fun, but everyone knew this. This was a perfectly predicted theory from people that she is Agatha Harkness, born like 12,000 or 11,000 years ago, mastered magic, 17th century. She was in Salem. She's a witch, was a part of the Salem witch trials. She survived the Salem witch trials, settled down in New Salem, had a kid, Nicholas Scratch, which we'll talk about in a second. Some people have some theories on that. Some people think, is it the rabbit? I know the rabbit is very consistent with Agatha. But some people also maybe trying to tie in Peter/Pietro Maximoff a bit. Posed for a nanny at one point in the comics for Sue and Reed Richards. And I know which keep that in mind. The chat brought this up earlier, and I know a lot of like the Marvel Reddit said this as well. She's never really been like full on evil. Like she's never been a completely evil person. Like she's not just some evil being showing up. She's kind of gone on both sides. Like she's helped Wanda in some respects before as well. Wanda went toe-to-toe with the Salem 7. Not long after became pregnant with the twins. Agatha very involved with the creation of the twins in the comics and graphic novels. However, in here, she seems pretty fucking evil. I will say. Like she seems like an evil person, right?
Her intro thing was very funny. It was Agatha all along thing.
Yeah.
It was like those very, very cool witch vibes to it. And then the very, very end of it was just, and I killed Sparky too. In the full witch laugh. It was like perfectly
great
evil.
Witch laugh. She's got the witch laugh down. I mean, that's like Catherine Hahn. She was born to play a witch.
And you see right here, you see her with the magic, the purple magic, by the way. At the talent show, you see her controlling Quicksilver, which again, we'll talk about him when we discuss the post-credit scene in a second. And yeah, she's like, you're not the only magical person, Wanda. Like there's other people. I'm Agatha. And like you said, KenJac, I thought the intro was that was because I was kind of bummed for a second. I'm like, shit, we're not going to get any more sitcom stuff, are we? Like this was good. And then they hit you with that, which might have been the best part of any, like in terms of sitcom-y things, one of the funniest things.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was catchy too. Like by the time the episode ended, I kind of had it stuck in my head as I was going to bed. I was like, "Damn, I shouldn't be singing along to that."
The fucking Sparky thing too was a real motherfucker. It's like
Yeah.
I can't even just have fun and say like, oh yeah, like let's do this, Agatha. Like you just can't be a dog killer fan.
Can't be a
Just-
dog
Nah,
killer.
you can't.
Nope, doesn't
you
work, my
just
friend.
can't.
Catherine Hahn has been outstanding in this series. So very cool to see her character. Like, I think when she was cast, we're like, oh, comedic relief, but she's got a very pivotal character. Will Mephisto show up? I think that's still what many people are predicting. Someone said earlier, Mephisto, there's an image in the Loki trailer. People believe it's Mephisto. So I think there's a lot more going on here. I don't think you see the big bad, and that's the only thing that happens just in the third to last episode. I think there's more to come. This is a good point out some people made. Just looking at Wanda kind of like in this controlled state looked a lot like when she controlled Tony Stark in Ultron.
Gave him the nightmares.
Wow.
Cool. Which, like, I'm not saying this like means anything, but I thought this was like a neat little.
That is cool. It just looks the same.
Mhm.
And then let's talk about the last thing. Let's talk about the mid-credit scene, which this was kind of the big thing for me as well. Is that they went to like the different aspect ratio and it became very MCU, and then they had a mid-credit scene. Like it feels like they're fully like into the MCU like cinematic type thing here. Monica sees the basement, she opens the basement, she sees the vines, and like everything's glowing purple. She turns, her eyes are purple, and then he says, I think what Snooper's gonna snoop. That's what he says to Quicksilver says to Monica. And yeah, I don't know what the fuck that means. Is he being controlled by Agatha? Is he Mephisto? Like somebody said, maybe she's gonna help, or maybe he's gonna help Monica? Did he get knocked out of something when Wanda like beat the shit out of him in the last episode? What are your thoughts and theories? Because this is the one that no one has any idea right now.
I think it's a Kronk type scenario. He's basically her Kronk. Like he's like a little henchman that's going to turn on her at the end. Like he's a nice guy, just like when he's being controlled by her, though, he does stuff that he doesn't necessarily want to do. And she and probably Mephisto, will, if from when he gets revealed, just ripped him out of the reality he was in and brought him here for that sole purpose of manipulating Wanda. But when he's not under Agatha's control or Mephisto's control, he's like, I think, going to be on Monica Rambeau's team.
I think maybe like when she stops controlling him or when she's done with him, like he'll just go away, vanish, and it'll be like a sad moment. She'll have to watch her brother die twice. I did want to shout out Duddy H on Twitter, who let me know that there was a post-credit scene because I was ready to go to bed. I turned it off. The standby hit. I was like, screw it. And then he texted me or he tweeted me and said, be aware of a mid-credit scene. So I was like, all right, screw it. I downloaded Disney Plus my phone. I was like, I'm not even getting out of bed for this. And I watched it then. So shout out to Duddy H. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, at this point, I think the only thing I just can't get over is like, why would they bring the actor from the X-Men? It's the only thing. But I saw this one theory I can't get out of my head. Where the fuck is that beekeeper? So I'm throwing him as the beekeeper now. I don't know if the beekeeper is just someone that they can just morph to whatever they want. And since they do know of multiverses, they just turned him into that. But I'm gonna go with the beekeeper just to go kind of the other option out there.
So the mailman is also very interesting. Sus, obviously. There you go.
The beekeeper was one of the sword agents, right? Like it was one of the guys that they had go through the sewer, and he turned into the beekeeper. But then he like just disappeared off the map, right?
Yeah, it's gone. After she said no.
You just got killed.
Just disappeared.
Killed him. But I don't know where I'd land exactly on it yet. I'm still like very into the theory and the idea that Agatha maybe made a deal, like bring him back, or like maybe they made a mistake, like they accidentally got the wrong one. Like that's kind of where my head is at. Like I think this is Quicksilver. Like I think it's him. I know Wanda even this episode is like, that's not your uncle. But I think it is really him. I don't think it's somebody morphed as him. And I think they're just they ripped him out from this other dimension. Like maybe the basement is the gateway. Maybe that is like the Nexus gateway. I don't know. But that's the theory that I think makes the most sense to me, is that they just got the wrong one, which is kind of funny. Like I love the idea they went to like a different timeline, different reality, and like they meant to get him, but they're like, oh fuck, we got the wrong one. Like we blew it. Like
and Jennifer Lawrence was running away from them, like, no, I'm not putting the makeup back on. You're not getting me.
Like it's Agatha, and she looks at like Sir Patrick Stewart. She's like, what the
When they made Ant-Man a baby, this stuff's complicated. It takes trial and error.
Gotta note this, by the way. When she eventually finally said her name, it was just so satisfying. It was like those, you know, that Reddit where it's like fits perfectly and it's like things just fitting perfectly into spaces. That's what that felt like. It was like, yes, they did it. Everything lined up perfectly. She said it. We were all right all along. It felt good. We were all on the same side. Everyone was thinking, oh, she saw us all along. So it felt nice to be right about that as a community.
Also, there is one other thing. This is not a leak. It's just a set photo. But if you don't want to hear it, go away. I don't want anyone to get mad at me. But there was one small note. I saved it for the end, which was interesting because people think this is going to tie in a little bit to Spider-Man 3, which could be the multiverse Spider-Man or whatever. But they said on the set photos, there's like missing kids photos, a ton of them. And you saw when the milk changed for Wanda, because the whole episode things were changing, the milk carton had like a missing kids thing. So I don't know if like because of the multiverse that's happening. I'm not sure. But there was a set photo. Again, that's not like a crazy spoiler. I'm not talking about leaks or anything. Maybe something to note. So they're just a little extra oomph to the tie-in with Spider-Man. But I thought this was a very cool episode. Again, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. If the rumor is that it's 1 hour episodes to end it, that's just an MCU movie.
I feel like there was some sort of a line either in the commercial, because I watch on closed captions, and there was something about like the missing kids, like hope you kids enjoyed your one day out for Halloween, and it was like the kids are gone now. So I feel like that is all being tied together with, you know, the milk cartons or anything else.
Some people think could be a flashback episode. Is Agatha controlling Quicksilver? Obviously, she was, but like, is she still controlling him here? I don't know. There's a lot of hints that kind of go all different directions. KenJac, you mentioned it. Like, they're doing a great job of answering enough, but opening up more doors along the way where we're still like kind of confused.
Exactly. It's always just enough, but never enough where you feel satisfied. It's like there's always the big question, which and you're just not going to get answered until you get to the very end. But every single little tiny other question that you get along the way is like, they give you a little bit of it, just a little bit to string you along. It's perfect. It's a great strategy. Look at us right now. We're all strung along.
We'll be back next week. I don't know what the fuck to expect in episode 8, but I'm very excited. And then one more after that. It's already almost over. I can't even. I can't put it together in my head.
Next week is the penultimate. We get to say that penultimate.
Yes. That's it. For Robbie Fox, Clem, KenJac, I'm Jeff Lowe. This will be up on YouTube. Like and subscribe. All that. We'll talk to you next week.
I'm clapping on the way out.